let's talk about the history of the purse.
But first, we need some coffee. Humans have been carrying small bags to hold important items and money close to their bodies since, well, basically we stopped running around naked and started making things. Betsy was found with a small bag. Romans had the bulla, and bags were used as status symbols in Han and Tang Dynasty China. Vikings carried both small purses on drawstrings and more sophisticated bags with metal frames, regardless of their sex or gender. In the Berka, Sweden archaeological dig, they found 52 bags in 47 graves. Men and women in medieval and Renaissance Europe carried small purses and larger bags depending on their needs. Basically, humans have carried purses and bags for eternity, regardless of their gender, but starting in the 18th century, something weird happened when the once genderless bag became a symbol of the feminine, forever changing how we view and interact with handbags. And it's this 200-year time period that we need to talk about today.
Hi, Toby. Oh, hi. Goodness. So now that we've covered the eternal history that is the handbag or purse, we need to cover terminology real fast. I will be trying to use the term handbag because I feel like it is the most distinctive when it comes to what we are actually talking about. A purse is actually a smaller article that was usually knit or spring work, and it usually looked like that. Do with that what you will. This variation is called a miser purse. It had an opening in the middle and 2 rings on it so you could keep coins and other little things safely on either side, and it would fit inside your pocket, whether you were male or female. As for pocketbook, this is also very self-explanatory. It is a wallet. It had hard sides like a book, and it fit in your pocket. This is where you keep notes and paper currency and small bits of paper, or what have you. Men and women also both carried these for the past several hundred years, and if you were at least my grandma, who was born in the 1920s, it was also your wallet in the 2000s. Her purse too, she kind of used it interchangeably. The reticule. The reticule, 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 your French, we love the reticule. Bloop, love you too, Griff. Bye. So the reticule is given a lot of credit, at least in really bad TikTok hot takes and not so great internet articles. I use that term very loosely. Basically the start to the end of women's pockets, because women's dresses at the turn of the 19th century got very slim around the hips, and they didn't have the hoops anymore, they didn't have the pockets. And then the purse industry, that was, you guys know what I'm saying. It's like just basically conspiracy theory non-shit. Ooh, brain, that was a fun one. Nonsense. That it's why women don't have pockets today. And as we covered in the pocket video that was released a couple weeks ago, that is inherently untrue. And so here's what happened with reticule. So the first instance that I was able to actually find of a reticule when going through specifically fashion illustrations was in 1797 on set plate number 71 from Costume Parisien. As you can see, it's sac appel ridicule. The way that it's printed and the way that it has been defined is that it is saying it is a bag called a reticule. That is the first instance that we see. What we see are tassels, or what we see is a geometric shape. What we see is a very pretty design.
Hello, I'm here today to talk to you about the sponsor of this week's video, Native, specifically their deodorants and body washes. If you're not familiar with Native, they create high quality body washes, deodorants, lotions, toothpastes, sunscreens that have limited ingredients, incredible scents, and they are extremely good at what they do. And for this winter season, they have a special scent line called Candy Shop, which is very self-explanatory. It smells like the candy store in the mall. For those of us who used to go to the mall, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So whether you want to smell like blue raspberry sour belts, strawberry vanilla taffy, cinnamon hearts, or gummy bears, they have a scent for you. So that way, with your 72-hour deodorant protection, you won't smell like corn chips. Instead, you'll smell like gummy bears. Now, if you're not into using plastic, Native actually has completely revamped their plastic-free deodorants, which are awesome. I have some of them here. This is the citrus and herbal musk scent that I normally use. I love it. I think it's kind of fun to be like, Now, Native deodorants are also paraben-free, aluminum-free. They're vegan and cruelty-free as well. They actually do a really clear listing of what ingredients are in their products. Like, I just love this, like with the body wash. Very straight to the point, no questions. They tell you exactly what it is. They're also kind of funny too because they list water and they're like, oh, you should know that. You're right, I should know that. Thank you, Native. So if you would like to give Native a try, normally deodorants are 3 for $39, but with my code, you can get 3 deodorants for $26, which is roughly about 33% off. Or if you would like to try their body washes and lotions, you get 20% off of those using my code. So with that, a huge thank you to Native for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to purses. Because I'm getting ready to start, like, I really just want this is making me hungry for snacks.
Now, the first instance of a bag being carried that I could tell, at least in the Gallery of Fashion, which is my favorite, like, English 1790s, like, fashion plate reference, it's actually from November of 1799. Now, curiously, they don't call it a reticule, they call it a indispensable. And it's clearly, again, something new. It's not something that has been seen before because they go on to define it. So this tells us a couple of things. One, the gallery is the Gretchen Wieners of the fashion world, and they are trying to make indispensables a thing, and everyone's like, stop trying to make indispensables a thing. It's not gonna happen, babe.
That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
But two, it does also tell us that women are carrying these as an alternative to putting things in their pockets. I think it's important to note that when we're talking about the replacement for a pocket, for the end of the 18th century, very early 19th century, people were not worried about not having pockets because they have had pockets their whole lives. Their grandmothers had pockets, their mothers had pockets, they had pockets in their old style of dresses. But now with this new era, this whole new style of clothes being worn, the fashionable young women didn't want to carry pockets like their mothers and grandmamas did. Like, ew, so gross.
Well, I won't be doing any of that, but thank you so much.
So while I've been able to kind of pinpoint reticule and like other contemporary information from the period from like the 1816s and 1820s also pinpoint the reticule as being something of French origin, that's not to say that women weren't carrying silk drawstring bags that were decorated before, because they were. Like, even in the costume parisien, we're seeing bags that look almost identical to the reticule being called work bag, money bag, a bag with ruffles on it. And work bags, honestly, when you read their descriptions of them, they don't sound any different really than a reticule. Here's a description. So one day, a lady who was very intimate in the family came to make a visit and brought a present to each of the little girls of a silk work bag trimmed with broad lace. In the bag were a needle book furnished with thread and needles, a silver thimble, a pair of scissors with silver tops and a nice red sheath, and beside a piece of drawn lawn. This is a very lightweight, crisp cotton or linen, neatly tacked upon a bit of oilskin, and just begun for them that they might each work her for herself a tucker. A tucker is the ruffle that you see in women's gowns in the 1750s, 60s, 70s. This gift was basically a little sewing project that had been started with all the things that the girls needed inside of it in a very pretty, inexpensive package. Now the difference, I think, ultimately what it comes down to is what was inside of the bag. Because when work bags were around, not only were they just holding work, but women would keep their valuables, their money, their correspondence, their pocketbooks, their purses, actually in their pockets, because women's clothing still had access to pockets at that point in time. But by the late 1790s, women, young women especially, were putting money and valuables in their reticules. And this is for better or for worse. Like, it wasn't necessarily a good decision, especially depending on if you were a forgetful person or not. The other issue with reticules is that they were also really easily stolen. When you're going through newspapers from the period, you see a lot of lost and stolen posts. It was really easy for, usually men, to rip a reticule from a woman's hand. So with all the issues surrounding reticules, while they never fully left like a woman's wardrobe after their introduction, women did go back to utilizing pockets basically for the majority of the 19th century. We see pockets in a workwoman's guide from the 1830s. There are instructions on how to draft them, and we see huge pockets in women's clothing. The reticule did not, full stop, destroy the pocket. But the reticule is an important moment for us when it comes to the modern history of purses, because it is definitely the first instance where we see it come into fashion specifically for women. Because like up until that point, as you guys saw, like purses essentially were, unisex. There are men carried purses, women carried purses, but the reticule was a uniquely feminine article. It was something that was carried by women. Like the craze around it kind of settles down. We do see work bags and reticules in ladies' magazines throughout the 19th century, though they don't replace the pocket. Some of them are really cute. Some of them look kind of practical. They're usually decorative, and they kind of go back to that original work bag purpose. They're there. They kind of exist over here. But the handbag that we would recognize as a handbag, the first instance that I was able to find of one from Godey's Ladies magazine, which if you're from the United States, that was one of our fashion magazines. It started in the 1830s, from December of 1872, that this useful bag is made of dark brown thin leather and lined with the same material. And I think we can all look at that and go, oh yes, that is a handbag. Yes, we agree on that.
Hello. Hi. So I just want to jump in here real fast because when I was pulling images for this video, I realized that there are a lot of photographs of women carrying little leather, like what we would want to call a handbag, before the term handbag seems to be used. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that is because I don't think it's a reticule. I think reticules are fabric-based bags, just from all of the information and literature around them from the period. My current guess is that they might have been called traveling bags, which correlates to the kind of use of handbag as both what we would want to call like a handbag or a purse as we recognize it, but also like a valise as like a small personal thing of luggage. So I'm wondering if the use of traveling bag, which I do see in Godey's very early on, and there are some images that kind of correlate to that pre-1870, is what that's supposed to be. And if the women who are carrying these little bags, usually they're kind of dressed in more traveling clothes, or they're dressed in more outdoorsy clothes. So I'm wondering if that's like what it's supposed to indicate. I'm not for sure on this. It's just the beauty of studying clothing is the moment you think you kind of have something understood and there's something else that comes up and you're like, oh, thanks guys, thanks for making this easy for me. I really appreciate it. But really the long and short of it is that these leather bags like came about and they were useful, and they eventually in the 1870s were called handbags. And that's really the kind of long and short of it. Did they exist before? Obviously, we have the photos to prove it. What were they called exactly? Not 100% sure yet. Okay.
So as you can see, like these handbags look almost identical to what we would kind of consider like a handbag or a purse today. And while they were really popular, and obviously they kind of continued to evolve throughout the end of the 19th and early 20th century, they didn't take over. It wasn't just like an instant craze. They actually kind of faded out of popularity in the early 1890s in favor of basically what is a reticule from Good Housekeeping, July 1892. A few years ago, the leather handbag with the everlasting click was carried, but it has now given place to the more elegant and graceful cloth bag run on a casing, so a drawstring bag. Even with the handbag's popularity at the end of the Victorian era, at the end of the 1800s, it still has not replaced the pocket. It is just an additional accessory that women are carrying for a variety of reasons. From November 1900 Ladies' Home Journal handbags, these can hardly take the place of a pocket. Many ladies prefer to have the latter placed at the center back seam rather than to be deprived of it entirely. Silk bags are carried in New York, and the women of the East carry the famed Boston bag. This is a Boston bag. A tiny leather grip could be used, or one of the gate-top silk bags, but if one is very absent-minded regarding her purse, that doesn't mean like her bag, that means like that little knit bag. The safest plan would be to have a pocket in the dress skirt concealed in the side or back seam and made quite deep. What's interesting about this Ladies' Home Journal like little bit, it's also indicating that they weren't necessarily the place where you put your valuables. You could put your money purse inside of your handbag, or you could put it inside your pocket so it's a little bit more secure and you don't have to worry about accidentally misplacing it. Now, what is a Boston bag? I think this is interesting. First, I was able to actually find an advertisement in Boston for the Boston bag, and this is it. I love this advertisement because not only do we have a clear depiction of what a Boston bag looks like, but it also says instead of the pocket. I gotta give a little credit to the handbag industry, like conspiracy theorists, because this they're trying. The Boston bag, Tobias and Wall of Boston, Massachusetts, they are trying to come for your pockets, ladies.
Be sure that your lipstick harmonizes with your rouge and your nail polish.
Basically, at the end of World War I, we don't have a place to put a pocket. So the handbag goes from just being kind of like this extra thing that has existed for several decades to now being something that you actually need to carry because you can't put your valuables anywhere else. So the other thing that happened in the 1920s that I don't think we've really connected the dots on, but we need to, is the fact that the 1920s is also when we see the explosion of the cosmetic industry. While women have worn and men have worn cosmetics throughout eternity, it really wasn't until the 1920s that we see the beginning of the modern cosmetic industry and era that we would recognize today. An explosion of brands, products, mascara and lipstick and lip liner and eyeshadow and face powder, millions and millions of dollars in business, just boom, exploding in the 1920s. But we also have the social acceptance of wearing cosmetics happening in the late 19-teens and 1920s, where yes, while men and women have worn cosmetics throughout all of history, when it comes to modern history, there was a certain level of don't speak about it, don't acknowledge. It's a part of the mystery, it's a part of the mystique. Like, you know, I just woke up looking this good. Oh yeah, I'm not, you know, that no makeup look, right? The 1920s, girls were like, it's like they were unashamed, they were unembarrassed, and they were very open about wearing cosmetics, to the point that we see this beautiful, just beautiful assortment of lipstick holders and lipstick cases and powder and mirror compacts. There was so much money going into cosmetic development. I think, to me, it had a huge impact on the popularity of the handbag, because if you've ever had a lipstick melt or the cap come off in a pocket and it gets on your clothes, like your clothes are ruined. That's a dye. Having your cosmetics in a very handy dandy bag is much safer and much better than having it in your pocket. I think with the lack of pockets in women's clothing and the rise of the social acceptance of women wearing makeup and owning makeup and publicly putting on makeup, it makes sense that the handbag explodes in popularity. And we are seeing handbags be advertised with mirrors in them, with compacts in them, with extra little pockets and coin purses in them. So they're also now developing purses to fit this need even better. Oh, the other thing is too is that women were smoking. Cigarette consumption was huge in the 1920s, and again, unashamedly so. And there was a lot of very nice accoutrement around smoking. So whether it was a cigarette holder or a sterling silver cigarette case or a lighter, you know, women were also publicly smoking, and it was socially acceptable for women to smoke now, where again, before it wasn't. There was just so many more things that women were starting to carry in the 1920s that the handbag had to be used. And so this is kind of like, this is it. This is what we see. And from there, we have seen just the explosion of the handbag. We have ebbs and flows in different name brands and styles and popularity, whether it's the micro purse that Lizzo was carrying or that god-awful Louis Vuitton bag from the early 2000s. You know, the thing is like, while pockets would come in and back out of fashion in women's clothing, especially during like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the handbag never went away because we still carried so much stuff. Even if we had good pockets, you couldn't really put everything in your pockets. Like, it just didn't really work. Purses just make sense. Like, handbags just make a lot of practical sense. I think we kind of want to think of them as like frivolous articles, but ultimately they're not. It's actually one of the more extremely useful and practical items that women carry.
You can fit a whole burger in this. What? I smuggled a burger into a movie.
Now, this whole time, I have been discussing how women, feminine folk, carry handbags. And that is because this life cycle of the handbag that we've seen, starting with the reticule, was established as a feminine accessory. And this kind of puts us to where we are today in the great pocket debate, where it's like, well, men have great pockets.
Pockets in women's jeans suck.
Well, women have purses because of toxic masculinity, and if you don't like that word, get off my channel. It's true. This piece of brown leather that is completely unadorned, it is the most simple, it is the most utilitarian, it doesn't even have lining in it. It's a woman's article, and God forbid a man wear it. And if a man does wear it, we have to give it a manly name, like
murse.
Or gender it, like
man bag.
Because God forbid a man, big strong manly man, carries a purse. You might be made fun of, like Jerry Seinfeld or Joey from Friends.
Definitely gonna get, thanks to you.
What's the part, Auntie Mame?
It's so stupid because it just ties into the whole concept how our society has villainized and demonized and lessened feminine articles of clothing.
Wallet, your keys, your address book, your makeup.
Since we have assigned that little stupid leather bag to be a feminine article of clothing, men have been prevented by society arbitrarily from carrying it, even if it is extremely practical.
Around in his coat with his purse.
I actually found an article from 2006, okay, from ABC News, and they were writing the article about the man bag. Like, this thing is like the concept that men are carrying bags across their bodies, guys, is newsworthy. Like, this is how it's such a big deal, okay? So here's what it says. It holds the perfect amount of stuff, Vogel brags. There's nothing else that I need that is not in this bag. But there's a catch. He suffers abuse from his friends who lack creative imagination. They say things like, is that your man purse? Is that your purse? Can I see your purse? What's in your purse? It's the genre of comment that shocked many when American tennis star Andy Roddick uttered his version at Wimbledon earlier this summer. Anything bigger than a money clip or a wallet is to be left to your girlfriend or wife. If you have a man purse, the wall is waiting. Are we fragile much, Andy? I didn't know your wife was also your mommy. Can't carry your own stuff, because that's not manly. Ooh.
Luckily, thanks to Gen Z and millennials, we have seen a huge shift in how our society and culture talk about gender, view gender, describe gender, feel gender, and express gender. We're finally seeing this breakdown of
The man bag and the murse.
to just calling it what it's always been, a purse, a handbag. The very interesting article written in 2021 in Women's Wear Daily that finally calls it out for what it is. Do gender-neutral handbags spell the demise of the man bag? This is a very, very big trend. You see more and more men being very confident in carrying in what we call traditionally women-shaped bags, perhaps, and it's an all-around playing with this gender fluidity, said Stavros Karellis, founder and buyer-director of London-based concept store Machine. I guess this confidence that the young generation of people have that the gender doesn't really matter anymore is about the design focus and how they feel very comfortable and confident by dressing up and showing something that is very beautiful in terms of design. Yeah, so it's a very practical accessory. It's also very useful to carry. It's not a sign of frivolity or vanity or any other implied feminine, inherently negative, which is also just bullshit, qualities anymore. It's like people have finally realized, oh no, this is actually really useful. You can put things in here like snacks.
Yeah, but sandwich time is right now.
Good sirs, welcome to the program. We have been carrying these bags for over 100 years now. Why do you think we carried them? You can put snacks in them. It's very handy. Plus, nowadays, with just everything going on, we need hand sanitizer. We need masks. We have cell phones, which are literally the size of small computers at this point. Sometimes dog treats in the bottom of your bag. There's just so much that we all carry in our day-to-day lives when we go out and about that having a bag for a lot of people makes a lot of sense.
It's where I keep all my things. I get a lot of compliments on this.
I think the future of the purses, because I got on tangent here, the future of the purse or the handbag is this. I think obviously they're here to stay, they are going to exist, but I think the future is just the understanding that all genders will be carrying bags of different shapes, sizes, and varieties, and that's great. This final breakdown of this silly gender binary about a purse, this like little rectangle leather bag is great, and so we're kind of going into this full circle. We're finally seeing it come back to gender neutral. And I think that's great. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun researching this one, actually. I had a good time. If you like this video and you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It helps you and me both on YouTube because then it tells YouTube what you like to watch. And with that, I'll see you all back here next time with another video. Bye! Of the 19 teens. Basically, the end of World War II. No, Cox. Try that again. Okay, but like, can we also talk about like the skirt? It is quilted. It is from Madewell. It is so cute. And it's like super like, I honest to God just think someone in France went, haha, let's just make this shit up. And then everyone was like, oh my God, you are just brilliant. Yeah.
Like, it's giving 1840s, but like, guys, like, look how deep that pocket is. Like, that goes up to here. Like, see, this is what I'm talking about when I was talking about pockets. Like, where'd it go? It's a mystery. You don't know. Whoopsh.